Hello student. So, today we will start the next lecture on composting and today we will talk about type of composting. Okay. So, I thought of to give two lectures on to the type of composting. The first one will start with the conventional composting processes and one more I think next lecture we will discuss the centralized or decentralized composting methods. Okay. So, we are in the same transformation element. So, this is type of composting, the first lecture. So, before going for the conventional pile composting, I thought of I will give some history about the composting process. So, it is a very well known technology, everyone knows from thousands of years. If you see in the Rome, Greece, Mesopotamia, even in India also, the thousands of years before also people used to they used to degrade the waste. Maybe the word that composting was not available on that period, but the degradation of biological waste or especially the kitchen waste used to be degraded, and whatever has the product used to get it, that used to be used for the agriculture process. Because that was very well known thing. So, whatever the final product will come up, that will have lot of nutrients, especially the nitrogen and phosphorus. So, even in the North America, the Native Americans used to be degrade especially the fish or whatever especially onto the kitchen waste to produce the compost. And in modern era, you will find we normally called as a father of modern composting method, Sir Howard, and it is a good that he has come up with very good method. The first time explained technically that method called Indore method. So, Indore is that is a cleanest city of India in Madhya Pradesh. So, I will talk about how Sir Howard has been explained for the degradation process or composting method. And because compost is not only used for the nutrients to the soil, but also amendment to improve the soil structure. So, see, most of the local people or most of the farmers, they will think that it is only for the nutrient purpose. It is not only for the nutrient purpose, but also it will improve the soil structure. Okay. That also the one lecture I thought of, I will talk about the soil quality, and where I will explain that how the soil structure will improve by addition of the compost. And also compost helps to combat the negative effect of over farming or chemical fertilizer. That is also one of the major benefit normally we found in the history of the composting process. And there are different kind of composting process has been used in the history, like cold compost pile, outdoor compost pile, even the compost tumbler also has been used for increasing the time period of the composting, and a few more technology has been come up. And what I was talking about Indore method, so I think I will just explain what exactly explained by the Sir Howard in that was around 1940, 1950. I think he was the very popular scientist, especially in the agriculture area, agriculture research, and I think he was around 70 or 80-year-old. He came up to Indore, and also I think still at his 70-80 years old, he was doing some research and explain what exactly is the composting process. So, I will just explain how he has explained. What he told, you take a waste and put in the pile form like this. Okay. This is the entire waste you put it in the pile, do the piling of the all biological waste. So, what will happen, the top layer will be in the aerobic condition, this top layer, okay, because it is open to atmosphere. So, obviously, the upper part, at least this particular part will be in the aerobic condition, where air can be enter into the that particular mass. But the problem with the bottom waste. So, what will happen, the degradation will start, okay, because it is a biological waste. So, obviously, the degradation will get start. So, what will happen, whatever is the pore area is available in the bottom one, like this particular area. So, initially in the pore the air will be there, and maybe for one day that air will be available for the microbes for the degradation process. So, because of degradation the water will produce, the moisture will produce. So, what will happen, this moisture, because it is not getting evaporated from the bottom area, top area is evaporated. So, whatever the pore area will be available, always air will be available in the top area, but in the bottom area inside the pore water will be there. So, initially microbes will use that dissolved oxygen for few more hour, but what he found, after 3 days he found that some odor has been come out, okay, means that the bottom waste is under the anaerobic condition. So, what he suggested, after 3rd day you turn the material in such a way, put it in the same pile way, and this top waste will go into the bottom and this bottom waste will go onto the top. So, that whatever is going to the anaerobic condition, that will be in the aerobic condition, and whatever is the very high aerobic condition, now here the air will be available, and this has to be again repeated for 6 day, 9 day, 12 day, 15 day. Likewise, he explained, and after 40 to 60 days he found that entire waste has been degraded. So, that is what I think the Indore method, he explained that. And see, what was the important point for the entire degradation, how best you can aerate the mass, or aeration is the most important parameter he found for the degradation process, and based on the aeration application into the mass or into the pile, we can go for different type of composting method. There are different kind of aeration methods which we are going to talk about, and based on that this type of composting also has been explained or discussed later on. So, now the same way the first conventional method like windrow method, that is also has the similar way of the turning of material, which I am going to discuss later. Now, this is another way, another method like conventional pile composting method, but the again in the same piling the aeration is most important one, but it is in the pile form. Now, this is another pit composting, this is also very well known, but here I think mostly in this technology there was not much aeration, and the depth also is not that very large. Likewise, not like 1 meter or 2 meter. So, the depth is very maybe around 1 feet, 2 feet. So, that the aeration could be possible into the that particular depth could be possible. So, here in this method there was no aeration system, okay, but I think it is a very well known technology in the if you see in the 70s, 80s in the India also the pit composting was very popular, especially in the rural areas. This was another method like trench method. Many textbooks also has been explained that if you can put the entire waste into the soil by making some kind of trench and put it into the soil and cover it by the soil, and after 60 days, 70 days we will get the compost. But I personally believe that I think the degradation was there was not in the complete aerobic condition, was in the anaerobic condition after few days. So, I will not say that that is a proper compost we will get it, and I already explained that the same material will get degraded in the anaerobic condition, your quantity also will be very low, and there could be a possibility of odorous gases or leachate production also could be possible. Now, the early composting method were also refined by India, China, Malaysia and other country. So, this you see that this most of the country are Asian countries, especially South Asian countries, because here temperature was very good for the degradation process. So, this was another one. This is also similar kind of that pile composting. Now, I think also because this was the centralized way, or the large quantity used to be get degraded, but here in the small quantity like in the household level also has been found that different kind of units has been used for the composting method, for the composting process. Even you see here, this is called is a matka compost, and is a simple earthen pot. You see, if you use the kitchen waste, because kitchen waste is highly degradable material, if you just put it in the somewhere in the open area, it will get degrade. Okay. There is no issue about that degradation process, but I think the major point will come up how best quality of product you are getting it. Now, here see, if you are running any particular composting plant, and if you are not able to produce good quality of compost, what I mean by good quality of compost is at least the should have good nutrients, and for that nutrients and should not have the pathogens into that. And see, in the last lecture of first lecture also I explained that how important is the thermophilic temperature. Now, you see here, is it possible in these particular area methods the thermophilic temperature could be possible? And see, thermophilic temperature, the most another very important factor which I explained in the previous lecture, the aeration is very important, because if there is no proper air addition, how the microbes will grow and increase the temperature into that particular mass. So, this is one by that way, this is also a simple pile, okay, this particular. So, for aeration is a manually mixing was there, okay. And see, the similar way of Indore method, they used to prepare this is a particular pile or windrow. So, this is the side view, and the front view is similar with the Indore method. Now, the same that it has to be the top material will go bottom and bottom material will come to the top. So, for that you need agitation, and so likewise for small quantity that agitation could be possible, okay. Manually you can change, okay. And this is also one more thing that people won't find more aesthetic when somebody is working with the waste. Now, here you will see, you are seeing that this is already a degraded material, but when you talk about the turning of fresh material, so obviously I think handling also is one of the important issue if you go for manual turning of particular material. So, the mechanization has been started. So, mechanization was developed for the use of composite as a method for treatment, sanitary disposal of MSW. So, there was a lot of mechanical innovations. That what was the meaning of mechanical innovations is a how best you can turn that particular mass, that was the innovation has been come up. So, this is also this one particular machine has been used. This is also simply for the turning process only. This is from India, and some of the main objective of this process were to improve the aesthetics of the composting process by enclosing the material in some type of structure and to reduce the amount of time required to stabilize the composting material. See that always it has been targeted that to reduce the time required for the composting method, and also to get the stabilize material as an final product, and especially these aesthetics also has been properly discussed. So, likewise new technologies also had been come up, where touching of that particular material people won't find that that good, and people don't like it to touch that particular material, whether with gloves also nobody like such kind of task for turning of that particular mass. So, this kind of technology has been come up. This is one more technology that was installed in Bengaluru, silo type digester, where mechanical mixing was possible. So, this was the one particular house, so small, and where the air also is injected, and the air also is coming out from that. So, this is also one of the technology. This is normally called solar composter. So, the idea is that we can have the we can increase the temperature by solar, so as in solar energy, so that the entire material will be under the thermophilic condition. Now, the type of composting based on the aeration method. So, we can say that there are two type of composting method. The first is open process and second is reactor process. And please remember that in any textbooks or any report, if you are studying that there are two type of composting method, one is aerobic, one is anaerobic. Please do not go on to that. I already explained, and again I am telling today that if anyone is saying that there is an anaerobic composting, is not composting process, is a anaerobic digestion process, and that treatment is entirely different, the product is different, and what are the like gases are coming out, that is also different in that case. So, by default the composting is a aerobic process, and these aerobic process are two types, one is open process and second is reactor process. So, open process also, the first is windrow method, windrow or we can say pile method, and another one the same way the aeration has been changed and that has come up with aerated pile. This was the agitated pile, where manually or mechanically pile has to be aerated. Here aerated pile or static pile, where by the some mechanism or some equipment has been provided for the aeration process. And reactor process, there are different kind of reactor has been come up, which in the last slide also you have seen that there could be possible vertical flow, horizontal flow or inclined, and non-flow, that batch kind of reactor. So, whatever in the history we saw that like Matka compost and all, that was the non-flow or batch kind of composting method. Okay. But there is a problem is that again that particular mass won't be in the aerobic condition, but majorly is the horizontal or inclined method is very popular in the reactor process. And this reactor process also has been highly successfully accepted for the decentralized composting method, which I am going to discuss in the next lecture. So, the low technology method, this is the agitated or windrow method or pile method, we can say simple this pile formation and turning by some turner, and a mechanical turner will be available or manual turning could be possible. Next, the aerated static pile. Now, because here you will be required one special kind of turner, if you do not want to go for manual turning of the material. So, the another technology has been come up, that is aerated static pile. So, what is the aerated static pile? Because same pile, now initially we have to in the first technology we have to turn mechanically or manually. Suppose the size is too big, maybe the size is the width is 5 meter and height is 3 meter. So, obviously manually is not possible turning, and mechanically also we need special kind of turner for that, and those turners are very costly, lot of fuel also will be required to use that particular kind of turner. So, what could be possible that like in this photo you can see there some pipes has been provided. Okay. Maybe pipes could be like this is a perforate pipes, or could be possible like put this perforated pipe in the bottom, because see what was the problem in this particular technology, that bottom waste is going to a anaerobic. So, why not in the bottom we can insert one perforate pipe, both will be open from the both side, or could be possible that somewhere you provide some motor and add the air, that is also possible. So, this aerated static pile also we can say that as an active pile or active aeration, and another is a passive aeration where there is no motor along with the pipe. Now, the high tech technology, or we can say is a reactor process, that is in vessel process, and there is very popular is a rotary drum composter, that is specially horizontal or inclined method, like this kind of technology. So, our next lecture I thought of I will specially talk on to the in vessel composting method, because I think this kind of technology highly beneficial for the decentralized composting method. And another is a box or tunnel composting. So, there will be a particular box where the entire degradation could be possible. So, this is the types of composting method. So, majorly if you can say that if this question will come up, how many types of composting methods are available. So, you can simply say that there are 3 type of composting method. First is windrow method or pile method, that you can say as an agitated pile. Second is aerated pile, and third is in vessel composting. This way also you can simply say that this is the 3 type of composting methods. Okay. So, the all 3 types based on the aeration. So, now in the first technology pile, agitated pile, aeration will be manually or mechanically, could be possible, but the turning is important, whether do manually or mechanically. In aerated pile we can put some perforate pipe inside the mass or inside the pile, and we can aerate that particular mass. And in vessel there will be a reactors, and the reactor is designed in such a way that the aeration could be possible, whether you go rotary drum composting or whether you go any box or tunnel kind of composting process. The important is that in vessel composting the time requirement is low. Like if you compare for the all the technology, the agitated pile is normally required 60 days, 60 to 90 days. Aerated pile also can be reduced 30 to 40 days, and in vessel could be possible 15 to 20 days could be possible for the degradation process. Okay. But again the size is also important, and if we know that MSW the quantity production is very large. Suppose if you are getting the 100 tons of biological waste, and we want one centralized composting facility, obviously we will not go for in vessel composting, we need to go for either pile composting only. That could be possible agitated pile if you are able to aerate that particular pile, or we can go for aerated pile by installing some perforated pipe inside the material, and obviously the space requirement will be the large, and obviously it is a open to the atmosphere. So, obviously it will affect with the local conditions, especially I think I will not much worry about the cold condition, but in the rainy season that entire area has to be covered. So, obviously if you are saying the covering of that particular area of one particular acre of particular area, so obviously cost will be very high into that. Now, the first technology is a agitated or windrow technology. So, it is a large volume of diverse waste such as yard trimming, any animal byproduct, could be composted by this method. So, this is one of the photograph of typical windrow. So, you see these are the different windrow. So, you see how much area will be required. Now, this is the turner. So, you see that by turning the material, you see the color of this and color of this particular area is become more black, and this the brown material is the black material, and see how much is the temperature that is coming out while turning of that particular mass. So, this is another turned and static windrow. So, this is the windrow again. So, here also you see the by turning, and this is a huge area is required for the composting method, but in the all the photograph you see that there is no cover onto the top. So, means rainy season is difficult to work for such kind of methods. Now, windrow system. So, there will be static pile or agitated pile. So, is a simple static piles, means pile are not getting agitated. Okay. So, and this is self propelled windrow composting machine. So, I think this machine will make that entire material in this particular shape also will come up by this machine. So, as per my information, India we do not have such kind of machines. That is why I think windrow also we made it by simple way by using some kind of machines, but not specially composting machines. So, this is another compost windrow, and turners are used to mix and steer the compost material in the commercially agitated composting operations. So, you see here this is also with the turner. Now, this is the important one when you talk about windrow method or pile method. Obviously, how much area will be required for that windrow area, that important to know. So, this is what I am showing the different cross sections of the compost piles. Normally, the cross sections you find, this is the way we discussed in the Indore method, but is possible to have this kind of method also. Okay, is again depend upon the how based you will be able to make that particular shape, or could be possible, but it is difficult, and this is also is a simple one where the entire material is flat onto the top. So, you see here the area has been calculated. So, first is to know that total volume of feedstock we can calculate in meter cube, that is a retention time. So, here retention time is nothing but a composting period. Normally I explained that 60 days, 90 days are required for the degradation process, and that will be your retention time multiplied by rate of feedstock delivery, how much kg per day is getting feeded, and divided by bulk density of that particular material. So, by that way we can calculate total volume of feedstock or total volume of substrate can be utilized into the windrow area. Similarly, we can calculate the area occupied solely by windrows, that is calculated by cross sectional area of that particular pile multiplied by length of windrow. So, you see here there are different ways we calculated the area, cross sectional area, like in the figure A, simple length width into height could be possible. The similar way the figure B, figure C and figure D. So, we can calculate how much area occupied by windrow. Okay. Now, the number of windrows, this number of windrows can be calculated by total volume of feedstock divided by volume per windrow. This is a simple way we can calculate the number of windrows. Now, the determining the area solely occupied by windrow, that is total windrow area is equal to number of windrow into area per windrow. So, if you know the how much area for the one windrow, we can calculate the number of windrow. Now, there is another area that we call maneuvering area, that is the distance between the two windrow, okay, for turning purpose or to movement of that particular machine for the turning facility, and also the final product also has to be collected. So, one particular vehicle has to be enter into that maneuvering area, that we can calculate by area of space, that maneuvering area equal to windrow length into width of the space. So, we can calculate by total sum area, the area required for the windrow and plus maneuvering area, we can calculate that, like the constructing windrow, turning the composting mass, water trucks, force aeration equipments, you will be required lot of area for that. So, by that way we can calculate the how much total area will be required for the windrow method. So, this is the mechanical windrow composite with the tractor and turner. So, here this is the turner, the backyard composting one. So, this is one photo, you can see that the turner how is working. So, this is the blade, these are the blades. By that way the entire material will get mixed. So, mixed also, and this bottom material will come on to the top and this top material will go into the bottom. The mechanism is same. Okay. Now, the aeration in windrow system. So, is a turned windrow aeration like the forced aeration. So, you see here the pipe has been injected, perforated pipe, and one exhaust fan is given here. Okay. So, exhaust fan means from the other part air will inject and from here the air will come out. So, by putting one exhaust fan. Okay. So, that is forced aeration, and this forced aeration also we did not require for the entire composting period like 60 days, 70 days, only the major degradation in the initial 15-20 days. So, initially we can use the forced aeration, after that no need of forced aeration. Otherwise, what will happen if you put more air, could possible that the entire material will get dry, or the moisture, the proper moisture won't be possible, because we need moisture for the growth of microorganism. So, minimum that 40-50% moisture is always required for the proper growth of microorganism. So, you see here the industrial compost heap with forced aeration pipe. There also a lot of energy is required for this. Now, see here there is a graph for degradation process. So, in the windrow process or forced aeration, the temperature is a thermophilic temperature in the typical turned windrow, and this is the pH. So, it is possible that initially pH will drop because of organic acids production and the buffer system available. So, obviously, initially the pH could be dropped, but after that the pH could be neutral pH could be possible by their buffering system in the composting process. But I think if you talk about in-vessel composting, I think such kind of drop is not possible in that case, because the degradation is so fast. So, these organic acids will produce only when the entire material is under the anaerobic condition. Otherwise, aerobic condition, these organic acids won't come up. These organic acid nothing but is a volatile fatty acids, is very easy to get degrade again or easy to produce carbon dioxide and methane from that. So, here you see the typical temperature curve for static composting and aerated composting. So, here you see the temperature graph for the turned windrow and controlled aeration or the aerated pile. In the aerated pile where controlled aerations could be possible. So, here the temperature you see is the more compared to the controlled aeration, but here you see that the is a for more longer period the maximum temperature could be possible in controlled aeration. Obviously, it is not like temperature to the turned windrow or agitated pile, but still I think that temperature is good, around 60° temperature is possible to achieve into the aerated pile. Now, this is another graph of same pH could be possible, and finally, because the nitrogen will get degrade. So, because of ammonium formation, that NH4 formation, pH will increase. But as I said, this could possible only in windrow methods or pile composting, but in in-vessel composting I think is not possible to have organic acids formation. So, this is another one, the static pile aeration. So, this is the different way the pipe has been injected. This is agitated aerated pile composting. So, in the bottom there is a perforate pipes has been provided. So, this is cover method. Okay. So, rainy season also we can use. So, what is the benefit of aeration in that one? It will enhance the composting process. Obviously, see what microbes will be required, the food, water and air, and food is already there because substrate is entire substrate is edible for them. Moisture is there, moisture will be always there because suppose there will be a lot of evaporation by thermophilic temperature or simply by ambient temperature, but also the water also will get produced in the degradation process. So, water will be also available. Only the major problem which that microbes can't do it by their own, that is air, aeration they can't do by their own. So, there will be lot of benefits of air addition or aeration into that particular mass for the degradation process. So, obviously, and could possible that if you aerate that, so whatever foul gases also will come up, odorous gases. You can say that sir, if it is a complete aerobic process, why the odorous gases will come up, but still there could be a possibility of leaking out of ammonium gas, that NH3 gas, maybe H2S also the small concentration will come up. I think there is also one question will come up whether in the composting facility whether the odor could be possible if you maintain the complete aerobic condition. I can say that that won't be that kind of odorous in that particular plant, but I think the small odor will be always there into the mass in the degradation process, because for every pocket of the mass is not possible to aerate. If you put number of pipes also into that, lot of air you are providing. Now, the community level composting, there also you see the I think is a very popular in the European countries and American countries, like they normally call as a backyard composting or block or neighborhood or even schoolyard or community level. In India is not very popular, but I personally believe that we should also go for such kind of community kind of composting process, especially in the apartment area is possible. Whatever the 20, 30 or 50 numbers of households are residing into that particular apartment, is possible to have such kind of method. But I think everyone should be involved. First is the segregation one, that wet waste has to be segregated first, and everyone has to be worked to maintain the particular aerobic condition into the that particular mass. Here in this photo you can see that the local community people, in the backyard you see the houses are there, in the back side of the house they are turning the particular mass, and see here this is the perforate pipe, you can see the perforation also in the pipe, these are the perforated pipe, and also the mixing of both the materials, like in the previous lecture also I talked about wet material and dry material, like agriculture kind of material. So, here you see the green and brown, both kind of material is mixed together. See, proper brown to green or proper carbon to nitrogen ratio has to be maintained, then only the proper degradation is possible. And there is always issue about leachate production, and I am again and again I am saying that these leachate will produce only and only condition where the mass will be under the anaerobic condition. Now, in this case you see that they put it into the one pot, the entire mass, you see here the paper, even kitchen waste, this is a mix there, but there is no aeration, they are not turning it. So, obviously under the anaerobic condition this leachate will come up. The I think many people will say, sir, what is the problem of leachate production into this one? This leachate is not like what leachate we are producing into the landfill area or disposal area, that is a highly polluted one, but it contains lot of nutrients, and these nutrients could be nitrogen, could be phosphorus, could be sodium, potassium, calcium, could be possible to come out into this leachate. In this excess water, you can say, I think other than leachate, I think the excess water we can say that. Okay. See, and the one more point is that if leachate becomes a problem, then add dry leaves, grass clipping, yard trimming. So, what it says that add more dry material, and what is the benefit of this kind of material is also provide the carbon for the degradation process, but also it will absorb the this excess amount of water. So, normally we called as a bulking agent, okay, that bulking agent. And if you go into the small laboratories, I think for especially for the research we use sawdust, because sawdust, we know that sawdust is containing more amount of lignin, and their carbon is very difficult to degrade by those composting bacteria within the 20 or 30 days period. It required longer period then is possible, but in 20-30 days is not possible to degrade that particular lignin carbon, but that sawdust is very good for the absorption of excess water, excess moisture, if you are not able to properly maintain the aerobic condition, or even especially for the kitchen waste as highly degradable one. So, within few hours you will see the degradation one, and the entire material will be the under water. So, even you add more amount of sawdust or more amount of dry matter, is very difficult to absorb that entire moisture. So, I think we need to really see that. So, for that this is another way, we need to add proper carbon to nitrogen ratio, is alone that kitchen waste should not be go for the composting process. So, the mixing of 2, 3 or more substrate in that particular mass, by that way we can have proper moisture production also, and absorption also could be possible. So, that such kind of leachate should not be produced or should not be generated into the mass. Now, this one more I think 2 more slides I had come up with that, especially to talk about in how we can do the composting in the winter season or in the cold condition. So, managing winter compost heap is same as any other time with layer of brown and green. The base compost pile layer given kitchen scrap, fresh garden waste with brown, that includes straw, newspaper and dead leaves or dry leaves, by mixing of that. And could possible that we can cover the entire material and go for that pipe, perforate pipe aeration in the mass. So, I think this is possible, this kind of technology in the cold area, but not like in the India. We can think about like in December, January, the ambient temperature is 5 degree. So, we can go for this one. I think we need not to worry about that, because microbes will get survive. Maybe we will not get that kind of thermophilic temperature in that particular season, but at least if you are able to get temperature around 55 degree centigrade also, I think is good for the composting method. Maybe the time requirement will be more into that particular season. So, 2 months, 3 months could be possible, and especially in the desert area also we can have the composting one by different methods. The major point is here, the aeration was the major point, and the mixing of different materials also is one of the important point could be possible. But now, like in India, we have number of centralized composting facility, and in that particular location around 200-300 tons of waste is reaching in that particular composting facility. See, is a 200-300 tons in a day. So, it is very difficult to talk about in this way, by mixing of dry brown to wet material or green material, is very difficult to maintain there, and that is why I think you see that the operation also is very difficult in such cases, because it is a biological waste. So, if you are not able to make that particular pile in the same day, because the entire waste will get degrade, and if you wait for 2 days, 3 days, the entire mass will be will produce water, and temperature will rise, and such kind of material after 2 days, 3 days very difficult to handle then. So, I think that is why in India the such kind of centralized facility we did not find much success to run those composting plants. That is why I personally believe that the decentralized composting is possible in the community level or household level. Composting could be more successfully, that not only will to utilize the material in that particular locality or particular area, but also reduce your collection cost or transportation cost. So, which I am going to discuss in the next lecture, where we will talk about another technology, that is in-vessel composting, and in in-vessel composting also the rotary drum composting is very popular. So, many research has been done onto that. So, that I am going to discuss in the next lecture. So, thank you.